Powerless people. Often the first thing that reveals a powerless mindset is powerless language. Frequent use of the phrases "I can't" and "I have to" is a hallmark of a powerless person. I can't do that. It's too hard. I have to clean the kitchen. I have to go to school. I have to spend time with so and so. All of these statements say, I feel powerless to take responsibility for my actions, so I will say that someone or something else is making me do it. Powerless people also throw in "I'll try" to absolve themselves if they do not come through on a commitment or promise. Just imagine standing in front of the preacher on your wedding day and saying, "I'll try." This language is rooted in powerlessness, in the belief that you don't have power to manage yourself. The defining driving force of a powerless person is anxiety. Life is scary when you are powerless, when you live in a world where you believe most things and most people are more powerful than you. It's scary to feel your life is out of control, out of your control. Powerless people have a deep need to suppress and assuage their abiding fear of loss, pain, death, abandonment, and more. But because they do not have the power to deal with their fear, their only hope is to persuade other people to do it for them. They need other people to share their power with them because they don't have any of their own. They need other people to protect them, make them happy, and take responsibility for their lives. And the only way they believe they can get people to do this is to try to control and manipulate them. Control can look aggressive like a T-Rex or passive like a lamb. But in either case, the root problem is the same: fear. Powerless people approach relationships as consumers. They are always looking for other people who have resources of love, happiness, joy, and comfort to offer in a relationship to share with them, because they don't have any. They subconsciously think, "You look so happy. I need some of that happy in my life. We should get together so I can consume all of your happy." A powerless person will consume whatever another person will offer up until the life of a once happy, radiant flower has been mown to dirt. If you don't believe me, talk to anyone who has been in relationship with a powerless person. They will suck you dry if you let them. I have a friend who is married to a man with a debilitating victim mentality. She could never do enough and constantly struggled to live up to his impossible expectations. They recently separated because he refuses to take responsibility for his unhappiness. Since she has been on her own, she's like a flower getting sunshine for the first time. She's sleeping, losing weight, wearing makeup, and doing her hair. Her happiness is no longer being consumed by a powerless person. Powerless people often blame the messes they make on other people. The reason their life, marriage, child, finances, job, or whatever is the way it is has nothing to do with their choices. Someone else, their parents, their spouse, their teachers, society, created the life they're living. They don't have the power to create their own lives. Powerless people create an anxiety-driven environment wherever they go. At best, these environments have a thin veneer of safety and calm, which cover underlying currents of control and intimidation. Those who enter their atmosphere quickly learn to shape up and go with the program, until it dawns on them that they will never be safe to just be themselves around that person or group. Then they have a choice. Will they stay in the anxiety and submit to the control of the powerless people? or go look for a different environment. Many choose to stick around in controlling environments and develop the skills necessary to survive there. They acquire a bodysuit of anxiety Kevlar, and then they live in it 24/7. It feels safe and impenetrable. The problem is that the armor shielding them from scary people is also preventing them from developing intimate connections with safe people. Their self-protection is not helping them become powerful. It is only keeping them from facing their fear of relationship. One of my friends is a powerful leader who is changing the world in remarkable ways. She projects confidence and security when she gets up to speak to an audience or when interacting with other leaders. But when it comes to her relationships with family members and coworkers, she reacts negatively to anything that feels or looks like confrontation, vulnerability, or intimacy. As a result, these relationships are fragile and filled with anxiety. No one experiences the love, intimacy, vulnerability, or truth they need. Like most who wear self-protective armor, this woman doesn't have healthy boundaries. Though that's what she may call them, she has walls. Powerless relational dynamics. The classic relational dynamic created by powerless people is called triangulation. When you believe that other people are scary, unsafe, and more powerful than you, and when you believe that you need to get them to meet your needs, then you have three possible roles you get to play in relationships: the victim, the bad guy, or the rescuer. If you're the victim, you're looking for a rescuer to make you feel safe and happy. If you're the bad guy, you are using control and intimidation to protect yourself or get someone to meet your needs. If you're a rescuer, you're taking responsibility for someone else's life in an attempt to feel powerful. Powerless people will switch in and out of these roles in relational interactions. Firstborn children are prime candidates for the rescuer role because they are often trained from the time they are little to take care of people who are less powerful. Their parents say, "Help mommy, would you? Go get Junior. He fell down again. I know he made that mess. Just pick it up for me, please, honey. You guys go to the park together and make sure he doesn't get in trouble." Rescuing people from themselves and taking responsibility for their lives is a familiar role and feels like love. But it actually can create unhealthy codependence. The subconscious fears driving the triangulation dynamic in victims, bad guys, and rescuers goes something like this. I live in a perpetual state of anxiety because I feel out of control. In adding you to my life, I have increased my anxiety because I can't control you either. I'm threatened by everything you do that I don't decide for you. Until you let me control you, I don't feel safe in this relationship. Unless you let me control you, you don't love me. In order to stay in a relationship, powerless people make an agreement to exercise mutual control over each other. The unspoken pact between them is, it's my job to make you happy and your job to make me happy. And the best way to get you to work on my life is to act miserable. The more miserable I am, the more you will have to try to make me feel better. Powerless people use various tactics such as getting upset, withdrawing, nagging, ridiculing, pouting, crying, or getting angry to pressure, manipulate, and punish one another into keeping this pact. However, this ongoing power play does nothing to make them happy and mitigate their anxiety in the long term. In fact, Their anxiety only escalates by continually affirming that they are not actually powerful. Any sense of love and safety they feel by gaining or surrendering control is tenuous and fleeting. A relational bond built on mutual control simply cannot produce anything remotely like safety, love, or trust. It can only produce more fear, pain, distrust, punishment, and misery. And when taken to an extreme, it produces things like domestic violence. I saw this frightening dynamic firsthand for 6 years when I taught programs for men and women convicted of domestic violence. The fear those people brought into the room was intense. Some of them had been in relationships for 25 years with unending cycles of abuse. One man I worked with had been arrested because he had hit his wife. It was a serious offense, but before that incident, she had knocked him unconscious on 2 occasions, once with a frying pan and once with a gun. So when she came at him the 3rd time, he took the first punch and knocked her down. The cops took her away because she had a black eye when they showed up, and he didn't. That's the kind of relationship they'd shared for over 2 decades. They called it love. But it was really 2 powerless people who had agreed to engage in a lifelong battle for control.